Hello, hello, hello.
Hi.
This is the Who Has Time for This podcast, a podcast where we delve into complex topics through the lens of our own unique perspectives. I'm Caitlin.
And I am Katie.
And today, Katie is treating us to a walkthrough analysis of Stranger Things to date as everybody gets ready for
their rewatches.
their rewatch for the final season to be released. I'm going to let her take it away.
Yeah. We are going to deviate from the usual formula today. We're going to dive into a little media analysis of the TV show Stranger Things, if you maybe have heard of it. You might be wondering, why we're going in such a different route today. And to tell you the truth, I'm tired.
Yeah.
And I wanted to work on something fun. That's pretty much why. So that being said, I'm going to be tying, some political history and important cultural themes into the episode. So I hope it's not too much of a switch up for everyone, for our millions of listeners, for our 5
And you
listeners.
know what? I'm considering it a public service because I don't know if I'll be able to rewatch the whole series. So this is going to be the at least cover
part of
most
it,
of it.
yeah.
Part of it.
Important spoiler warning for
Obviously.
all seasons of Stranger Things, cast and crew interviews, promotional material, anything Stranger Things, it might be in here. So my original plan for the episode was to try to give a really nice, well-rounded analysis of Stranger Things that would touch on most of the characters and how the show could potentially end. But as I was working on compiling my thoughts, I realized I needed to narrow my focus because there's just too much. So I'm going to be talking about parts of the show that I think are the most culturally and politically relevant, and that could maybe have the biggest potential impact on viewers and on the culture in the end. I'm not going to be focusing so much on things like who created the Upside Down, or how is Vecna going to die, or is Vecna or the Mind Flayer the big bad, which I think it's going to be Vecna, but the Mind Flayer is so much scarier.
Yeah.
He's
faceless monsters over faced monsters.
Right? This unknowable, abstract universe-eating monster over some dude.
Yeah, some misunderstood dude.
Anyway.
Feels like an allegory, but we'll get to that.
There's going to be lots of allegories. All right, so hopefully this comes out in time for everyone's rewatch before November 26th. To start with, Stranger Things is an excellent sci-fi horror series. The thing that sets it apart, though, that's given it such a widespread appeal and has made it so enduringly successful, is its characters and their own personal arcs and their relationships with each other.
Yes, and I will just quickly interject and say I don't care for sci-fi that much. I like a good horror movie here and there, but I love Stranger Things, and I would not have thought I would have otherwise, and it is because of the character-driven storylines.
Yeah. That's what keeps everyone coming back and back again. Even when the story maybe dips out of their interest, a lot of people, I think, were not so into season 3 because it kind of changed, the whole way the plot was working. But they still came back because you could just sit and watch Steve and Dustin and Robin talk for hours.
Yeah.
Okay. So before we get into all of my subtexty sort of analysis, we're going to talk about the characters and how they're written. So the YouTuber Pickle Ditto, which is a funny name, has a great video where she dives into this character chemistry. She outlines how the show masters context, conflict, connection, and subtext between the characters, but also never lose their individual character arc or their individual character purpose. So to illustrate this, we're going to look at our beloved Steve Harrington.
Steve!
Gotta start off where the people want. Okay, so Steve starts off in season 1. He's the popular jock. He seems to have it all, and he's kind of a jerk.
Yep.
Though in the end, of season 1, he ends up surprising everybody when he owns up to his mistakes. He tries to make amends with the people that he has wronged. And then we find him in season 2, no longer part of the popular crowd. He's sort of hurtling toward a life after graduation with no goals or aspirations. Mm-hmm. It's making him a little bit of an outcast, like most of our other characters. And to add to this, Nancy breaks up with him in the beginning of season 2, in episode 2, increasing this isolation. So it's here where he's feeling that isolation, where he runs into Dustin Henderson, who is one of the members of the party, quote unquote, the core group of younger kids that the show is really revolved around. Mm-hmm. So at first glance, Steve and Dustin might not have a lot in common. But when you look deeper, you see that Dustin is also at this point in time feeling isolated from his friends. He's finding out that Max is more interested in Lucas than him. He just lied to them about Dart, the baby Demogorgon, saying that he doesn't have him at his house anymore, but he does. He's pushing them away to kind of keep secrets. And it's also established that, like, throughout the seasons, maybe not by, this episode, but when you watch Dustin's relationship with his mother throughout the series, it's established that they're close, but she's written as a very sort of emotional person who leans on him a lot.
Yeah.
So he ends up having to be the more, like, level-headed person in his household as a middle schooler, which is also a really isolating responsibility. So Dustin and Steve come into each other's life unexpectedly, and this connection steers Steve toward his purpose, which is one of the best character arcs that we've seen in modern TV, and it gives us our dear babysitter Steve.
Yep, Mommy Steve.
Yeah. So Dustin and Steve have more in common with each other through their context than meets the eye, on your first watch. And they connect during a time where they're both feeling isolated. They're both experiencing conflict with their established support systems. And then later on in, like, the beginning of season 3, we see Dustin come to Steve for support when he's, like, once again feeling isolated from his friends. He wants to go up and call his girlfriend on the radio, and none of the friends want to wait for her to answer, so they all leave. He's feeling isolated. Who does he go to? Steve. So that's sort of like the subtext. You kind of read into it. Like, they come together when they're feeling isolated from their other supports. This is how they deepen their relationship. So the Duffer Brothers have done such a great job of establishing these arcs and these roles of each character so that the context, the conflicts, the connections, and the subtext, they just make sense in this overarching story. They're not just all separate people. They really connect on many layers. Mm-hmm. They're such masters with this that in the first episode of season 4, they're just able to make us fall in love with Eddie and Chrissy as a pair in under 4 minutes. When they meet up in the woods and she wants to buy drugs, that's like a 3-minute scene, and we're all like on our we love them already. Yeah, they're so good at it. So something interesting that Pickle Ditto points out in her video is that they actually use Dungeons and Dragons concepts built to build their characters. So in D&D, and I'm not an expert. I've played D&D I think 3 times. So
0 times.
So in D&D, everybody has a role in the party. Different characters are written to fit in different types of classes in this show. Mm-hmm. So D&D, different classes have different strengths and powers and weaknesses and all that stuff. So some of the characters might be in the same class, but that doesn't mean that they're sort of completely the same tropes, completely the same characters. Right. Take Hopper and Mike. They're both leaders. They're both kind of hard-headed. They're both inspired by paladins. And, that's kind of literal for Mike. That's his D&D character in the show. So paladins are these kind of holy knights. And they're inflexible in their own codes of conduct. And before they face their own inner struggles and, inner darkness, They can be a little bit self-righteous. They can be overzealous. And that's sort of where we find Mike in seasons like 3 and 4.
Mm-hmm.
And then after they battle their own demons, they become this force for goodness and justice, which is where we find Hopper.
Yep.
So to get to this stage, a paladin has to, fail to uphold their own code of conduct, and then they like lose their special abilities, and then they have to atone, and it's like they become sort of this like anti-hero, which I think sort of describes Hopper.
Yeah.
He's not a perfect, he has his demons, but he's kind of not moved past them, but he's made peace with them, I guess.
Yeah.
To become who he is as our hero.
Yeah, and he sees the challenge and rises to the occasion, but that doesn't erase other things.
Yeah, like
his like drinking, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
He's not always the nicest, most empathetic person.
Yeah, like when he's trying to talk to Eleven and Mike, and instead of having a heart-to-heart, he tells Mike his grandma's dying, and then he yells at him.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Right. No, he has like things he can work on, but like also he like sacrifices himself.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
like,
exactly.
People are messy. That's what we talked about in the Harry Potter J.K. Rowling episode.
That's actually going to come
people
up later
are messy.
too. And later on, I'm going to get into potential ways that Mike might have to face his own demons to evolve and become that force for good and justice himself. But not just yet. First, we're going to go into some subtext.
Yeah.
We've talked about characters and how they're written. I just felt like it was important to talk a little bit about that because, I don't know, this whole thing is going to be focused on characters, but we are going to take a little bit of a detour from the characters to talk about a couple of underlying themes. Okay, so.
All right.
The Duffer Brothers have very cleverly used their storylines and their characters as rich illustrators of subtext. They put so much love and care into this show, as evidenced by these characters and their journeys. But that care can go, it goes really a lot deeper than many of us realize when we watch it. This is why I now want to go into some underlying themes that may go unnoticed by the general viewer.
Mm-hmm.
So I read this Substack essay by TV Microscope.
Okay.
It was a very informative, a good read about the subtext of Stranger Things. I wasn't a big fan of the writing style, so I will link it. If you want to read it, it's got a lot of great information, but it's not my favorite writing style. Just put that out there.
Gotcha.
But I'm going to be citing a lot of his points in the next section. Okay, so let's go into what subtext is. Subtext is an implicit or metaphorical meaning in a piece of literature or media. It's not the literal story presented to you, but it's what the underlying meaning is. If we take the play or the film Arsenic and Old Lace, and shout out to when we were freshmen, we pulled the curtains.
We did pull the curtains, and then later when I went on to college and was at Simmons College, an all-women's school, I played Jonathan.
You did, that's right.
In our rendition of Arsenic and Old Lace. So, fun fact.
Okay. Getting to know us a little bit. Arsenic and Old Lace is a suspenseful and entertaining story about these seemingly harmless old ladies who are actually murdering people and hiding them in the basement.
Yep.
Scholars have agreed, though, going back and analyzing the story, that the real underlying theme is that it's a metaphor for American history. So in America, we put on airs that things are normal and that we have proud roots and wholesome values, like the old ladies in Arsenic and Old Lace. They're just cute little old ladies.
Yeah.
But in reality, our history is dark and violent, and as a country, we metaphorically sit on a mass grave.
Wow.
Which is the bodies of the murder victims in the basement.
My mind is blown.
Right? This TV Microscope brought that up.
Yeah.
So credit to him. He wrote a lot of good points.
Very
So
interesting.
to look at the subtext of Stranger Things, we got to take a step back and see the forest through the trees. And don't worry, later on I'm going to go through a couple of scenes and we're going to go talk about painstakingly tiny details. But for now, take a step back with me.
Yes.
All right. I want to clarify that subtext doesn't necessarily mean that any of the themes or the metaphors I'm going to discuss will actually become part of the text. Sometimes subtext stays as subtext. There are some things I think could potentially jump from being just a metaphor to being part of the literal story here, but it's obvious it's not guaranteed. You don't know. Most of it will probably remain implicit. And I don't know, call me crazy if you want, but I think these showrunners really want their audience to be analyzing and theorizing, and they like literally made the show about nerds, so they want us to nerd out.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, so TV Microscope makes the argument that one of the biggest subtextual themes in Stranger Things is the Reagan administration's response to the AIDS crisis.
Reagan!
And the experience of being queer or gay during that time. And I agree. Once you see it, it's there. Like, when I rewatched it after reading that, the TV Microscope thing, I was like, oh my god, yeah. And it's like, you could see it beforehand, because it literally takes place during the 80s. Mike's parents have a Reagan Bush lawn sign, like, it's there. But, okay. So, in Season 1, Episode 1, Will Byers goes missing. Yep. Spoiler alert. And it's also hinted that Will Byers is gay from the very first episode of the show. So he gets stolen away to the Upside Down. So this place is just like his home, but it's scarier. It's darker. It's isolated. He's walking the same streets as everybody else, but he's apart from them. So this is sort of suggesting that in Season 1, the subtext of the Upside Down is like the closet in a way. So he's there, but nobody else is like with him. Nobody else is there to help him. Is it a coincidence that he sings "Should I Stay or Should I Go" the whole time he's there?
Right.
While trapped in this metaphorical closet? I don't know. I don't know if the Duffer Brothers do coincidences.
Probably not.
Yeah. And like when Joyce communicates with him using the Christmas lights and the alphabet, she asks where he is, and he says right here. So they're in the same space, but they can't reach each other.
Right.
Suggesting that this is like an illustration of how disconnected a person might feel from others if they're in that closet. So Joyce spends the season insisting that she can reach her son when everyone else tells her that he's gone and nothing paranormal is happening and this and that. And everybody in the town insists that he's gone. There's nothing she can do. And one of the people being Will's own abusive father, Lonnie. So, like, the authorities and even Will's family are condemning him to the fate that was suffered by hundreds of thousands of people during the AIDS crisis.
Yep.
Being left to die in dark isolation. So, little history now. The Reagan administration was, like, heinously negligent of this crisis during his presidency. AIDS was recognized medically in 1981. And Reagan didn't publicly acknowledge it until 1985. And he didn't give an address about it until 1987. So that's 6 years later. And that's only after the famous actor Rock Hudson went public with his diagnosis. At that point, about 47,000 people had already been infected with HIV in the United States. And also, at all this time, his economic plan, Reaganomics, slashed the federal budget in all areas except for military, including CDC and immunizations. He actually
sound familiar,
right? They tried to cut the immunization budget in half, but was stopped. So, are there parallels to what we're seeing at this time?
History repeats itself. We are doomed unless we learn from it.
Exactly. Also, fun fact, I had no idea that Anthony Fauci worked on the first government report about AIDS in 1986, the Coop Report. So I'm glad to see that he was on that right side of history even back then.
Yep.
Okay, so back to Stranger Things. Joyce is not taking anything lying down. She's determined to make a connection to her son, bring him back to her at any cost. And this was an interesting point out by that TV Microscope. In one of the first seasons where she realizes she can talk to him through the lights.
Yep.
She pushes a piece of furniture away, and there's this tiny closet in the wall that she crawls into and holds the Christmas lights and talks to him. Yeah. And it's like she could have had that moment anywhere. Could have been on the couch. Could have been at the table. Like,
right.
What was the reason to make her climb into this tiny closet if not for the metaphor? Mm-hmm. AIDS crisis. Okay. Sorry.
AIDS crisis. HIV.
So also to note, Will's bullies are showed multiple times throughout season 1, laughing and joking about his disappearance, which brings to mind when the first journalist to ask questions about AIDS, which was Lester Kinsolving, he asked them to Reagan's press secretary, who was Larry Speaks, and the questions are met with jokes and laughter. I'm going to link a YouTube video with audio from these interviews, and it's disturbing. It's so fucking messed up. And it's just like all these parallels.
Yeah.
Okay. Spoiler alert. They get Will back. He's left the Upside Down, but it has not left him. So when the Mind Flayer possesses him, which could not be a clearer allegory for sexual assault.
Right.
Dr. Owens refers to it as a virus.
Wait, who's Dr.
Dr.
Owens?
Owens is the guy who helps them escape the lab
in
season 2. And then, in season 4, he picks up 11 and brings her to get her powers back.
He's not the
He's the
bad
good guy.
doctor.
He's the good doctor.
All right. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Not Papa.
No.
Whatever. Okay.
No. He comes in, he's like, Papa's gone. They're all like, even though Papa's not
yes.
gone.
Okay, now I remember. Okay.
And he gives Hopper, the birth certificate for Jane.
I'm sure, or I don't know if he comes up later. Sorry if he does, but I just randomly remembered Bob, who I forgot about.
Oh, yeah. I don't really talk about Bob in this.
Anyway, R.I.P. Bob.
I
Another
know, a
serious
real one.
spoiler.
Bob was a real one.
Bob was a real one. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So Dr. Owens, who we now know who that is.
Yep. Wait, sorry. I know. I keep digressing.
No, that's okay.
But I just had to say that this crazy amount of time that has gone on between the seasons since the last season came out. It came out in the summer of 2022. Yeah. I had a fresh newborn baby, my first fresh newborn baby. In that time, I have had another baby who is 1 now. So that's
just
why I don't
season
remember
4 and 5.
Yeah, that's why I don't remember anything, and that's why I'll keep asking questions. Hopefully, they're helpful for if you're like me.
Yeah.
Have lived several lives since the last season came out.
You mean you haven't rewatched it twice in the last 2 months like me?
Oh, I will be rewatching it between now and Thanksgiving, but anywho.
Okay.
I'm the foil here. I don't know.
Yes, no, this is great. This is good. Yeah. Okay. So Dr. Owens, he refers to the Mind Flayer being inside Will as a virus. He says Will is infected, and it's like he's the canary in the coal mine, sort of warning of what's to come, like the victims of the AIDS crisis, were the warnings of what to come with all of Reagan's bullshit. Meanwhile,
we're living through it now.
Yep.
The aftermath of that bullshit. But
yep. So meanwhile, 11 also is described in episode 7 of season 2. She has a festering wound, which I thought was just rewatching it since writing this. I was like, oh, that's interesting because many AIDS victims would eventually be diagnosed with Kaposi sarcoma, which is a really rare form of cancer that causes wounds, lesions on your skin. Yeah.
I remember that vividly.
There's other,
Rent. I mean, not that you could see it, but I think it was alluded to. I don't know.
And there's so many different metaphors that they could have used. Yeah. But they used that one that was really applicable to the subtext. So As Will is being treated for his virus and Elle is trying to tend to her metaphorical wound, the Upside Down is spreading. It's destroying pumpkin fields. It rots away at crops, much like the conservative Reagan Revolution, led by fundamentalist Christians, rotted away at the more liberal trends of the 60s and 70s. The Upside Down is now representing the climate that Reagan's politics created. And it's clear that the Duffer Brothers, much like our podcast, are not fans of Reagan.
No, not fans at all.
No. A dark, empty, lonely, rotting thing is spreading now. It not only touches those people directly affected by the AIDS crisis, read Will, but now it's affecting the community at large. It's coming to devour everyone. And that's literally what it does in season 3. As a human meat monster. Literally devouring people. In episode 4 of season 3, Nancy and Jonathan's asshole boss from the Hawkins Post, he makes a joking comment about diseased rats being the second coming of the plague. As the show goes on, the subtext of the Upside Down expands. It starts more narrowly as, the dark experiences of the LGBT people in the throes of the AIDS crisis under Reagan, and it slowly expands to the dark experiences of the community that are reeling from his policies. This mirrors how this represents our history. The LGBT community and other marginalized communities, but I don't have time to go over every single one today.
That's all right.
We're the first to understand and experience the horrors, so to speak. But they eventually come for all of us. The hive mind of evangelical conservatism threatening us all. In season 4, Dr. Owens once again uses the virus analogy, but this time he isn't talking about Will in particular. He's talking about the Upside Down. And the Upside Down is the virus that's spreading.
Duffer Brothers are deep.
I know, right? So I also want to note something interesting I just noticed this week on a rewatch. Not totally in line with the AIDS crisis history, but I don't know, it's just an interesting parallel to today. In season 3, the mayor of Hawkins is super disliked by most citizens in the town. But instead of changing any of his policies to benefit his constituents, he throws a carnival to distract them.
Right.
And, obviously there are parallels to now. But this is also giving, the bread and circus parallels to Reagan distracting the masses with things like promoting his tax cuts that would benefit working class people very briefly, but in the long term would disproportionately benefit the wealthy. And he also made, a lot of these dramatic and captivating speeches and public appearances, and he even literally went to a Ringling Brothers circus.
Yeah,
once.
and, remember, he was an actor before he became president. He was not, he's an actor, then he was governor of California, I think. But sort of like Arnold Schwarzenegger, but more like another entertainer turned president, to be honest. But
who has, the charisma to distract people.
Yep.
Yeah. So he doesn't have to change his policies.
Exactly. Just distract.
Woohoo. See, it is a little bit political.
Yeah. It's always political.
Yeah. Okay.
Sorry to tell you.
Yeah. Okay. So one criticism on season 3 I see a lot is the changing of the big bad from our government to the Russians. But this does make sense if you look at it in this sort of Reagan era subtext, which, the show is taking place during the Reagan era too, so it's not always subtext. But.
Right.
Okay, so while Reagan was president, the Soviet Union was in its perestroika, which means restructuring years. So it was on its way to extreme capitalism with no regulation, and that eventually threw the nation into poverty. This was when the nuclear arms race was taking place, so the Russians trying to harness the power of the Upside Down and its monsters makes sense. This just expands the reach of the dark and cold and isolating Upside Down virus even more and weaponizes it.
Yep.
Okay. Now in season 4, this is kind of jumping from subtext into text, but I'm still going to analyze it because I'm making the rules.
Yeah.
In season 4, we dive into the Satanic Panic. Before we get into Satan, we need to talk a little bit about what was going on in the U.S. in the decades before Reagan was elected. So after World War II, the country saw an economic boom, a baby boom, a technological boom, and the middle class grew and became more stable. Mm-hmm. But the fruits of this boom were felt most profoundly by white men. Women had experienced stepping into the more traditionally masculine jobs and roles during the war, and now they had to return to the home and its limitations.
Yep.
People of color were also seeing the fruits of their labor being unequally distributed. In the decades to follow, we also saw a boom in the fight for equality through things like the Civil Rights Movement.
Yep.
So one notable push for equal rights leading up to Reagan's presidency was the Equal Rights Movement, or the ERA. This was a proposal that sought to end legal gender-based discrimination. It was first introduced in 1923, so this has been going for a long time. It had picked up a lot of support in the 70s and was almost successfully ratified by the end of the decade. But unfortunately, Reagan was the first U.S. president to publicly oppose the amendment. Mm-hmm. And his followers became swept up in the fight against it. Travis James wrote an article for the University of Memphis, Travis James Brooks. And he states that the fight caused the reactionary right to organize like it had never before. Mm. So the organization of this new right was how Reagan, who was once thought of as an extremist, he was able to become elected as the president. Mm-hmm. The conservative Christian church leaders were a large part of how he got elected, and they were the headers of the Satanic Panic movement that had been brimming for about a decade. Of course, some other world leader that we know, his charisma, also helped make his more extreme views seem more palatable.
Yep.
Okay, so the Satanic Panic is really just a conspiracy theory, as I think most people watching this video probably know.
Yeah.
Brooks outlines some guidelines for what can be considered a conspiracy theory in his paper. So one of them is that it requires the enemy in the conspiracy to be othered and seemingly devoid of all humanity.
Of course.
In Reagan's time in the presidency, dog whistles were often used to marginalize groups. These phrases were a signal to white racists, but they also didn't alienate the more moderate conservatives. So, but they brought them into the fold. Like in the 80s, you couldn't say the N-word, but you could say welfare queen, which always indicated a woman of color taking, quote-unquote, advantage of the system. And it would subtly and successfully, pit his followers against her, this theoretical woman.
Yes. And another Netflix show that dives into this is, what was that show about the women wrestling? Do you remember what it was called?
Oh, what was that
Glow?
called? Yes, it's called Glow.
Mm-hmm. There's one woman who, her, wrestling character is the welfare queen, and she's, doing it on purpose. But, her son, who's, she worked hard to send to college, comes and sees one of her matches, and he's, so disappointed in her for, playing into this caricature. And it takes place in the 80s. And so if you want to, find, a complimentary viewing experience for this time frame, and, that's a good show to watch, too.
I never watched
just
that
thought
show.
about that,
That is a good point. Okay. So the leaders of the Satanic Panic tied the AIDS crisis and satanic worship together.
Of course.
They lumped homosexuality and abortion and infanticide for some reason together, and they inferred that people suffering from AIDS were being punished by God for their sins, and even metal music and role-playing games were viewed as a sign of satanic worship. The two biggest loves of our beloved Eddie Munson. R.I.P.
R.I.P. Eddie.
Also...
My favorite.
I know.
And Bob.
Gone too soon.
Bob and Eddie.
Something I learned reading this article, apparently Al Gore spearheaded most of the Satanic Panic hearings on the Senate floor.
Wait,
when they were happening.
What does that mean?
He was, trying to, he was, against... Metal music.
Oh, really?
And yeah.
So he was
he was
what?
he was the enemy until
That's
Except for global warming, I guess.
yeah.
I don't know.
I've read one long article about him.
Yeah.
I would like to read more because he's like a really weird figure and interesting, but I did not know that. And
Me neither.
he was like, I don't know. He was very aloof and like kind of weird and played off the charisma of Clinton. I mean, that's I think why because Clinton was so charismatic, he could just kind of sneak in there.
Yeah.
And but yeah, that's really interesting.
Right?
I
had to read that a bunch of times,
that.
then I had to Google it and be like, what?
As just hearing it now, I thought you meant like he
was against it.
it.
No. He was like,
okay, I'm gonna go
get these Dungeons and Dragons out of here.
Huh. That's very interesting.
Yeah. Okay. During this time, we also saw more radical feminist voices dissenting. Mm-hmm. They were trying to leave this patriarchal system that had been shown to harm them, and make people see that the cause, wasn't metal music or gay people. So
it's not Ozzy Osbourne.
Yeah, exactly. We see these feminist dissenting voices in characters in Stranger Things, like in Nancy and Max. Nancy doesn't want the cul-de-sac family. Max is a tomboy who goes against the more feminine traits of a lot of her classmates. As a reaction to this dissent, we also saw groups previously seen as feminist groups being scooped up by the right because of family values.
Yeah.
Like, for example, Women Against Pornography, which hilariously was shortened to WAP.
It's funny how we turned that around.
These more conservative groups were scared of ritual satanic abuse, when in reality, the threat was actually patriarchal abuse. And there was really no evidence of these satanic cults. Dozens of daycares across the country were falsely accused of abusing children in the name of Satan, and it just wasn't true. Much like Eddie falsely accused of Vecna's killings. Also, just right now, it connected in my head, there were daycares, and Eddie was like taking in all the little ducklings.
Yes. He was like
taking care of them.
The Steve for a little while.
Yeah. Ugh.
Yeah.
So it was like his daycare.
Yeah. And really quickly, I want to, of course, I always think about this when you're talking about, like, women's groups being pulled into the conservative. We see this now with the trad wives and the, like, take a step back from the hustle, no more girl bosses.
Yeah.
What we're seeing play out now and Maha and how that pulled so many suburban white women into the Trump fold.
And even like all of this is, we're seeing it now. Even like in the beginning when I was talking about like specifically the AIDS crisis and how like they were the canaries in the coal mine, like we're seeing that with trans people and with immigrants right now.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Point blank.
Yep. There's always these cycles play themselves out over and over and over again. The more people become aware, the more we can actually like make progress against it. So
who would have thought Stranger
Things is progress.
Okay. Oh, I don't remember this. I said just a side note because I couldn't resist. Let's find out what my side note is. Okay. As a result of all these threats to the patriarchal family systems, the new Democratic Party of the 1990s became more conservative,
which makes sense.
Embracing more family value politics and moving the needle of the left a little bit more to the right.
That's where we get centrism, the much decried centrism.
That was like the Bill Clinton era.
Yep.
And see
Bill
where
Clinton
that's gotten
was
us
tough
now.
on crime because of this.
Yeah.
Like he didn't turn everything around from Reagan. He turned some things around, but not.
But he was more conservative than Democrats.
He wasn't like the liberal savior that I think a lot of people wanted back then.
Yeah.
And we got a little bit closer with Obama, and yet still not.
Yeah, Obama wasn't a perfect president either.
Yeah. But anyway, here we are today. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, back to Stranger Things.
So, now we've covered how much Reagan sucked. We can get back to our characters.
It still sucks.
It still sucks. Okay. I'm going to go back again to the TV microscope essay.
Yep.
And subtext. So another way that subtext can be used in media is with mirror characters. Mirror characters are like parallel characters, similar to foil characters. And while a foil character's job is to like emphasize certain aspects of the protagonists because of how different they are. The mirror characters, like, they'll share values, they'll share personality traits or backgrounds or character arcs with the protagonist. So, I have to burp. Mirror characters are usually like minor or side characters, but they can have larger roles. So today we're going to take mirror characters a step further, and we're going to discuss mirror love triangles.
Oh.
And we're going to go over 3 love triangles that mirror each other. Okay, so for the purpose of this episode, and right off the bat, people might be like, what? I'm going to use the love triangle of Elle, Mike, and Will as the protagonist love triangle.
Yep.
And then I know that Steve and Nancy and Jonathan are main characters, but they're going to be the mirror.
Yeah.
So if you look at Nancy as Mike's mirror, Steve as Elle's mirror, and Jonathan as Will's mirror, you can see potential endings for the protagonist love triangle. So Nancy starts the series with, like, the right guy. He's handsome, he's charismatic, he's popular, he's rich. And Jonathan is, like, the town weirdo, and she's not supposed to be with him.
Yeah.
Nancy ultimately decides to subvert society's expectations of her, and she chooses Jonathan. When she and Jonathan go practice shooting in season 1, they discuss their parents, and Nancy states that she doesn't want what her parents have. She doesn't want the house in the cul-de-sac and a bunch of kids. She wants to be independent, and she wants to make her own way. Jonathan also shares a little bit about his family and how his father once took him hunting, and he cried after he had to shoot a rabbit. And this kind of emphasizes his mirror to Will, who is also very sensitive and caring. Another thing, like, you know, seasons later after this hunting scene is in season 4, Steve talks about how he wants to have 6 kids.
Yep.
And the little family. And that's not what Nancy wants.
Yeah, right.
Anyway, I gotta find my spot again. Okay, so if we look at the protagonist mirror, we can see that Mike is with, like, the right and expected partner, 11. But will he subvert expectations like his sister and end up with the sensitive buyers? Who knows? It didn't write the show. Could just stay as subtext.
Yep.
Sometimes subtext just stays as subtext.
Yep.
But it's an interesting subtext to look at.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, really quick,
Yeah.
I just want to share what I want to happen.
What do you
which
want to
is
happen?
This. I don't care about Mike and 11 and Will. I care about the Steve and the Nancy
Yes.
of it all. I think Steve can compromise on his desires. I think he needs someone like Nancy in his life. And
Whoa.
I want them to get back together. I don't think she's happy with Jonathan. I think she needs to either be on her own.
Mhm.
Well, she's only like, what, 20? She should just be on her own
that's the
anyway.
thing. None of these people have to be with each other forever.
But I want her to go start her career or whatever, and then come back for Steve and bring him with her. That's what I
It'll
want.
be like 10 years later.
Yeah, exactly. Steve will grow up and see that he doesn't have to have his own brood of 6 children. He can have, like, a normal amount of kids. Like,
They can, like, live in a
2.
city together.
And they can live in a city. And, yeah. Or he could just find somebody else at that point. But,
I feel like
This is what I want.
Steve needs somebody that we have never met.
yeah, Steve can... Yeah, exactly. Maybe somebody... Well, Robin would have been good, except that
Well, yeah.
she was not
No.
interested. But somebody like Robin that,
Mhm.
like... kooky, knows who she
Yeah.
is, doesn't, like, she's just the main character, and he's just, which is like Nancy, but I think Nancy needs to grow independently. I don't think she needs anyone right now.
Yeah, I think
And-
that Nancy and Jonathan could end up together.
sorry.
But I feel like it would be nice if it was, like, down the road, like they could separate for college.
Yeah,
And then
exactly.
come back together.
Mhm. Yeah.
Wait, I also had a thought. What was it?
Was it about Will? And
I
them?
think that well, this whole thing is going to be about 11 and Mike and Will now.
Yeah.
Wait, it was about Steve. No, it's about. I think that Nancy was so important to Steve because she was part of his character arc
Right.
and his changing and becoming who he truly is, and that's why she's so special to him. But, like, that doesn't mean they have to be together forever.
That's true. Yeah. That's, like, she had her place in his life, and...
I just think, like,
Yeah.
with the way that they specifically wrote that she doesn't want the family that her parents have, and then Steve, like, why did they make him say
he
put
wants
that
6
in
kids
there.
or whatever, yeah.
If it wasn't like narratively.
That's true.
That's illustrating that he wants something that she doesn't.
Right. Yep.
Because it's not real life where you just talk about stuff. It's a TV show where they put things in specifically for reasons.
Yeah. Yeah.
But who knows?
Who knows?
Maybe they could.
I don't know.
I didn't write it.
Yeah. My guess is that Nancy will probably be on her own at the end.
My guess is Nancy and Jonathan. We'll see. That's
see.
why I want to make a betting thing.
Yes,
a sports
yes.
bet. I think that'd be fun.
Yeah.
Not just for like romantic things, but like for like, I don't know, how's Vecna gonna die?
Right.
Like,
yeah.
That'd be fun. Okay.
Yes.
Like, will Eddie come back as a vampire? Some people think. Will there be a giant dragon? Some people think. See, this could have been like a 400-hour long episode. I was like, AIDS crisis. We're going in that direction.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, the other love triangle that I want to compare to the protagonist's love triangle is much less expected. So here, Mike's mirror is going to be his mom, Karen.
Okay.
11's mirror is Ted Wheeler, Karen's husband, Nancy and Mike's dad. And Will's mirror is actually someone who shares his same first name, Billy Hargrove.
Huh.
So, Billy and Will both grew up with like horrible, abusive fathers. But Will luckily had Joyce.
Yeah.
She kicked Lonnie out, and Will and Jonathan live with her instead. We learn in season 3, when Elle is in Billy's mind, that he had the opposite situation happen to him.
Yeah.
His supposedly loving mother abandoned him so that he was alone with his abusive father. So Billy is essentially what Will could have been if he was forced to live with Lonnie instead.
Wait, so Billy and his sister Max both live together with the bad dad, or
Max
was she
is
with her mother?
Her mother. So
Okay.
They Billy's dad
the children.
married
Oh.
Max's mom.
Oh, right. They're step
So Max came in later.
siblings. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
After
Gotcha.
Billy was already alone with his abusive dad.
Gotcha. Okay.
And like more mirrors, like they're both possessed by the Mind Flayer with drastically different outcomes. Billy tragically losing his life and any chance at character redemption, while Will is saved by the people who love him. Again, because he ended up with the mother who loves him and not with the father who abuses him.
Gotcha. Yep. Totally.
So it's like a kind of alternate dimension thing. But okay, so in this love triangle, Karen ultimately makes the decision to be with the safe and expected choice. She was gonna go out and meet Billy for a date.
Ted.
But not a date. Go to a motel.
Yeah.
For quote-unquote swimming lessons.
Yep.
But then she's about to walk out the door, and she sees Ted sleeping in his chair, cuddling with their youngest daughter, Holly.
Yep.
And it pulls on her strings, and she decides to stay. So, like, we'll make that choice. The most expected outcome. Oh, yeah. The TV Microscope guy also made the argument that 11 is like the personification of the love between Mike and Will. And there's some interesting points about that. I didn't want to focus on that because I want to focus on Elle's like personhood and her independence. In the same way that like I think it'd be sad to relegate like Will as a pawn in getting 11 and Mike together. I think it'd be sad to do the reverse to Elle. Because they both deserve more than that, and I want my girl happiness and autonomy.
You might get to this later. I don't know, because I didn't do the preparation. Sorry.
No,
but
you don't need to do preparation.
Something that is, I just thought of with this whole idea that Mike could be gay, maybe, and Will could also be gay, but we're going to assume that
definitely.
he is gay, yeah. Is 11 looks like a boy from much of, did not, okay, so, and that's when Will kind of falls.
Yeah, in the beginning, like, everyone thinks like, Benny thinks she's a boy at first, another one, like, R.A.P. Benny.
Yes. Wait, which one was Benny?
He owned the diner, and she was stealing food.
Yeah.
And then he just, like, shoot him in the head.
Oh, yeah. He thought, yep.
He was the first person who was ever nice to 11.
And then I also remembered someone else. Barb. R.I.P. Barb.
R.I.P. Barb.
Sorry that monster rolled up on you so hard. Do you remember that song?
Wait, well, vaguely I do.
R.I.P. Barb.
Yes! Holy shit, I forgot about that song.
I did. I forgot about all of this.
That just like was pulled from the recesses of my mind.
It became unlocked
Oh my god. Wait, I need to pour some more coffee in my cup. This is like a silly episode, kind of.
We need silliness.
Yeah.
We need silliness in our lives right now.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So, now that we've talked about some subtext, we're going to talk about those little teeny tiny subtle Easter egg hints.
Yes.
Okay. We're going to get to the text, not the subtext.
The sacred text.
Okay. We have looked at the forest. Now we must look at the trees. Okay. The Dover brothers have made the show and put so much love and care into it because they want people to pay close attention and look for those tiny details and signs. It's made for us nerds who want to look closely. I'm going to link a YouTube video by Bingeable that points out some Easter eggs that's like 10 times Stranger Things predicted its own plot kind of thing. And I'm just going to talk about a few, some from that video, some that I just noticed, just to point out, like, it's definitely there. Mm-hmm. So, like, one of the most obvious examples is in the very first episode when the party's playing D&D and Will rolls for Fireball and he gets a 7 and they lose, but the dice rolls on the ground and they can't find it. Right before Will bikes home, he says to Mike, "It was a 7, the Demogorgon, it got me." And then he bikes home and the Demogorgon, it gets him.
Right.
But some people now think that was Vecna, so we're gonna see. I don't know. That's the thing that's put on the betting card if we make it.
Yes.
Okay. Another example of this that I did not notice, which I was like, wow, that's so cool. Okay, is when Lucas parties with the basketball team in season 4.
I forgot all about Lucas's alternate storyline.
Jason Carver, the captain of the team, he tells him
got cut in half at the end.
Yes, that's what I'm going to talk about. So Lucas is throwing up in the toilet because he's hungover, and Jason says, "Hangovers feel like you're being split in 2."
Oh, whoa!
I know. Which, like, metaphorically, in the same episode, it shows up because Lucas has to, like, choose if he's going to side with the basketball team or the party. But then also, in the end, Jason is physically torn in 2.
Yep.
That blew my mind. And then, like, other things, like Eddie has a tattoo of bats that you can see on his arm in the first episode when he's talking to Chrissy, alluding to his most extreme metal concert in the Upside Down and how he dies when he's attacked by the bats. Mm-hmm. A teeny one I just, like, noticed this week as, like, in the 3rd episode of season 4, when Joyce and Murray are taking the plane to Alaska to give the money to save Hopper.
Yep.
The flight attendant asks her to buckle her seatbelt, and she says, like, "This is really going to save us when we crash." And then 2 episodes later, they crash Yuri's plane in Russia.
Yep.
Let's see. Another really small one that I didn't notice, but that video points out, is that in the first episode of season 4, when Elle and Will are doing their, like, class presentations on their heroes, when the camera is on Will, there's another student behind him, and the only thing you can see on their poster board is the name Henry.
And I forget who's Henry.
That he's number 1.
Who's
Vecna.
number 1? Oh, right.
Mm-hmm. So it's like all these little things. Like, they could have put any word or name on that, but they chose to put Henry and put it in the frame.
Yep.
So this is the kind of stuff they're sneaking into the show. And, like, if they want us to look and analyze and guess, I'm going to do that. And they even point this out to us, obviously, in 2nd episode of season 3, when Joyce visits Mr. Clark because her magnets keep falling off of her fridge.
Oh, yes.
And she's like, wants the science explanation. And Mr. Clark says that Joyce may just be experiencing apophenia, which is seeing patterns or coincidences that aren't really there. And Joyce goes, "But what if it's not?" And she's right when she says, "What if it's not?"
Right.
So who knows? Okay. Back to this love triangle of the protagonists, where you might be thinking, that's not even a love triangle. What are you talking about, Katie? I'm going to start with going person by person.
Yep.
And then I'm going to go into some scenes. And then we're just going to talk about cultural importance.
All right.
Okay. So, some listeners, like I said, might not ever realize that there was a triangle present around Mike and Elle and Will. And you know what? It might never fully show its head. It might just stay subtext. Who knows? There's definitely a possibility that, 1, 11 may not end up with Mike, and I'm going to talk about how I think that could be really good for her character.
Mm-hmm.
And 2, there is a possibility that we may get a big gay love story. And I'm going to talk about why that could be important for the culture. Okay, we're going to start with 11, my girl. Okay, the girl who grew up in a lab under the thumb of her abusive father figure, Dr. Brenner. She was violently torn away from her mother. She was tortured. She was made to feel like a monster from as early as she can remember. And when she was finally able to escape the lab, she ran into the party. And Mike was the first person who ever showed her love and care, besides for our boy Benny. R.I.P.
R.I.P. Benny.
So, of course, Elle and Mike have a strong bond. Like, obviously.
Yeah.
Mike teaches her about the world and shows her what positive relationships look like. And so now she has this wider view of the world, a little bit wider. But it's not her own view, it's Mike's.
Mm.
And don't get me wrong, like, I love their relationship in season 1 and 2. Even though they were separated for most of season 2. But I was like, these little kids love each other so much, oh my god.
So cute.
Mm-hmm. So in season 2, we find out that Elle is now confined to Hopper's cabin. And we know that he's trying his best to protect her and keep her safe. But again, her life is now limited to Hopper's worldview.
Yep.
So she's not allowed to leave. She only gets to speak to him. Her world continues to expand, but it's still so limited to the world of her keeper. I think this is why the Duffer Brothers included one of the most hated episodes of the show in that season, The Lost Sister, where she goes to Chicago. Watching it back, I didn't mind it. I think the reason that it was not well received probably was because it was came at such a cliffhanger.
Yeah. Where
the demo dogs are about to break into the hospital and Hopper's watching them.
Yeah.
And then it's you're going to have to wait an hour.
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
also, we don't want 11 to have other friends. Let's be honest. We don't care about these other people.
Yeah. Even though they have cool mohawks.
Yeah.
So in this episode, 11 goes out on her own to find herself in a way. She eventually realizes what she wants is to come back to Hawkins and help her friends. But she gets to make her own choice to do that. So in season 3, 11 finally gets a chance to start forming her own views. This comes when she makes friends with Max. Max encourages her to find her own expression and independence. At the mall, she encourages Elle to find her own style. Elle, literally, it's so heartbreaking when she's like, how do I know what I like?
Yeah. Poor Elle.
And Max, tells her to find something that feels like you. Not Mike, not Hopper, you. So far in her life, 11 has never been encouraged to make her own decisions, to find her own way. And even, with Kali and The Lost Sister, she's being forced to fit in with, the punk vigilante group that Kali leads. Mm-hmm. So on the same day after shopping with Max, 11 breaks up with Mike on the bus ride home, and she's, giggling. She and Max high-five. They're eating ice cream. She does not seem upset. Yeah. The first time we get to see Elle, come into her own is when she's no longer in a relationship with Mike. Romantic relationship. In episode 6... Mike is worried about Elle overexerting herself. She's using her powers to try to find Billy.
Yeah.
And he's freaking out and telling everyone that she should stop. And he has an argument with Max. So it all escalates to the purpose of Mike telling the group because she loves her, and I love her and I don't want her to get hurt or whatever. And it's the first time he says that he loves her.
Yeah.
And at first glance it seems oh, it's so sweet, he loves her. But Max's argument in defense of Elle kind of gets lost in that little love confession. And, her argument is that Elle should have the autonomy to know her own limits.
Right.
And that Mike is essentially trying to control her. Mm-hmm. And the only other woman or girl in the room, Nancy, agrees with Max.
Right. Yeah. Let Elle decide what's too much for herself. And if she reaches that point, then she reaches that point and she learns from it. You don't have to gatekeep her from figuring it out herself.
Yeah. So is it adorable teenage love, or is it something a little more controlling?
He's a little shit, honestly, sometimes.
Yeah. Well, we're going to talk about him. Okay. Let's see. In season 4, Mike is trying to find a way to tell 11 that he loves her, but he can't seem to find the words. And he keeps comparing her to a superhero.
Really quick. Is season 4 when she lives in like Arizona or
California.
whatever. California with Joyce. And,
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So he keeps calling her a superhero, but all she wants to be seen as is a person, and
Right.
he just like isn't getting it.
He thinks
isn't.
he's like complimenting her.
Yeah. He isn't listening to what she wants, and he's trying to keep her in the box that's like his idea of her. She doesn't even know who her authentic self is yet. If you look at Elle throughout the 4 seasons, she has a drastically different wardrobe each time because she hasn't found who she is.
Right.
Like, it symbolizes that. She also comes face to face again with her childhood abuser later in the season, Dr. Brenner. She has to go through, like, this painstaking mental and emotional journey, and she's finally able to tell herself that she's not the monster, but Dr. Brenner is. And she finally gets closure with that and can move on from this abusive and ambiguous relationship that she had with her quote-unquote papa.
Yep.
So also, notably at the end of season 4, she's no longer talking to Mike.
Yep.
And the final shot, she's staged to be standing alone where all the other characters are paired. So that's indicating to me that her independence is going to be a key factor going forward in season 5.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I don't know. I can't tell you what's going to happen, but I'm just,
We're
there's
just
some clues.
guessing.
Yeah. So 11's journey, if, it goes nicely, and I hope it does, is about empowerment of young women and how we can find our own paths after experiencing years of oppression and manipulation. And it's about how women are often told to submit and allow men to shape our lives and our identities. How women can find themselves being controlled and confined in the name of protection. How men often control and abuse us under the pretense of protection. And not that I'm saying that Hopper is an abuser. It's just a subtextual theme.
Right.
We love Hopper in this house, obviously.
Yeah, but he's not like a warrant. But he's not like... I mean, fatherhood was like forced upon him, kind of. So he's like learning how to be a good father.
And he wants to keep her
time.
safe when she's like literally wanted by the government.
Yeah, exactly. So, and he's also like got like he's a
He's not
police
perfect.
officer.
Yeah.
He's got like law and order and
Yeah.
in the back of his mind. So anyway, that could be like not purposefully controlling. It's just like, I want you safe. Follow my rules.
Yeah, and like obviously Dr. Brenner was purposefully controlling.
Yeah,
but
'cause he's
Hopper
evil.
and Mike are both like, it's out of love, but
Right. Yeah. Well,
it's
he's
the controlling is there.
a bad dude.
So it can be really difficult to break out of those cycles of abuse and control and find our own strength and independence as women. And 11 and Mike have a really special relationship and a really special bond. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. I don't think that her ending up with the first boy that ever showed her kindness after a childhood of abuse is representative of those themes that I was talking about.
Right.
She has so much more growth and learning and experience ahead of her. I just think that if I wrote it, I think that should be celebrated by letting her be free at the end of the show and without being influenced by people trying to mold her into what they want her to be. And it would show the audience that her value is not determined by romance, but it's determined by her autonomy and her finding her true self.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
And also she's like, what, 15?
Yeah. They're like freshmen in high school.
All children. Like,
Yeah.
shouldn't even be allowed to have boyfriends at that age. Anyway.
Okay. So now on the other side of the coin, I'm going to talk about some more queer themes in the show. And while I'm not gay, I think that these themes are important to point out because of the current state of the world and the backsliding that we are seeing and doing in regard to human life.
Yeah.
Human rights. And, like, can't we just get a big gay ending?
Yeah.
The world is burning, like...
Just give us that big gay ending.
Yeah. Okay. So, this is where I might lose some people. I don't know. We're going to find out. Maybe I'll win you over. I still have, like, pages.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is the part where I talk about the possibility of Mike and Will ending up in a romantic relationship. And you may think it's crazy. And honestly, it's just all in good fun. So it's okay if you don't agree. As I said before, there's this like intense underlying subtext in the show about the AIDS crisis and the effect of Reagan's political policies. specifically to queer people, but also to the larger population. This inherently makes Stranger Things about the experiences of queer people. And this doesn't mean that there has to be any actual gay characters in the show, but we know that there are at least 2.
Yeah.
And maybe more. So why shouldn't they get happy endings? One reason I think it's important to talk about this stuff is because honestly, if you go on the internet, there's so much homophobia in the Stranger Things fandom.
Really?
Yeah. Okay. So first off, it's canon that Will is in love with Mike.
Right.
So for people to hope that like a romance between them, it's not that far-fetched.
Right.
You know? Fan bases speculate and daydream about couples getting together all the time, whether it's canon or not. It's just like all innocent fun. It's totally normal fandom behavior. But if you spend any time looking at comments on like Reddit or Twitter or even YouTube videos, it becomes apparent that some fans are having these disproportionately strong reactions to like the shipping of 2 male characters. And if we want to go into the ship names, Mike plus 11 is called Maleven.
Very
and
good.
Mike plus Will is called Byler.
Byler, okay.
Okay. So in the comments section of the video I spoke about before by Pickle Ditto, where she like just talks about character arcs and relationships, it doesn't talk about any romance. But somebody like in the comments was like, can you do one about romantic relationships? Like that would be fun. Not mentioning any specific romantic relationships. And then there's just like piled on by these comments saying, I hate Byler, those people are like, how they hate the people who ship them. And it's just like, no one talked about that.
Yeah, no one brought that up.
No one brought that up. Like,
have a lot of anger.
Yeah. I wrote today here, but it was, I don't know, last week. I was scrolling Reddit, and there was a post talking about how, like, Maleven are soulmates, and they can't wait for season 5. And it's just this cute little post of someone being excited. And then again, all these comments about, like, how people hate Byler. And it's like, no one was talking about that. It wasn't, it was about 11. And it just seems so Freudian to me, like, you have to be thinking about this, like, gay relationship 24/7 to be bringing it up when no one else is.
Yeah, right, exactly.
And it happens all the, like, it's everywhere. Also, there's, like, all these people that wish for Will to die in season 5. And, like, they want him to die. And it's like, you want this, like, teenager who's, like, been tortured his whole life to die? Is there any reason besides homophobia?
Yeah, why does
like,
anyone have to die? Like, only the bad guys.
And usually,
right?
like, usually when
and
you
one
talk...
sacrificial person. Hopper,
usually when you
probably,
talk about people dying in your favorite show, you're like, I hope they don't die, but I think they will. And it's like, people are saying they want them to die. Yeah. And there's this trope called Bury Your Gaze, and it's this movie and TV trope where... And it's kind of died out in 2025. But, but it was like where people in the LGBT community were seen as more expendable than their, like, straight, cis counterparts.
Like, black people are often expendable in movies,
and they're killed off. So, in recent years, they've been doing less of that. And I just hope that the Duffer Brothers aren't the ones to bring that back. Okay, side note, I do have to say, there is definitely some bias about Will as a character because of the social media scandals in the last few years about the actor Noah Schnapp who plays him. I'm not going to go into, like, crazy detail, but I think that it does need to be mentioned. Like, personally, I don't know this kid.
Right.
And also, he is a kid. He's, like, a teenager, I think.
Right.
Maybe he's 20 years old now. I don't know. But I don't know if he's a Zionist or not.
Is he Jewish?
He's Jewish. And I think when the October 7th thing happened, he made some sort of, like, both sidesy comment, which people didn't like, and I get. And then he was photographed or filmed with these 2 people who had, like, these stickers that said things like Zionism is sexy. He didn't. He said he didn't have the stickers. He didn't touch them, and he also, like, I think said he doesn't hang out with those people anymore. And, like, but anyway, the backlash was so huge.
Yeah.
He's not on social media anymore, I think.
Well,
and
this is, like, a whole nother episode, and it really relates to what we talked about with J.K. Rowling.
Exactly.
But don't crucify people unless you know the whole story.
Well, and, like, here's the thing, is that I think it needs a more nuanced approach.
Yeah. Exactly.
One, yeah, this teenager
Right.
who experienced all this stuff, that's not the way to, like, get people to change their mind. That's
No.
the way to get people to dig their
exactly.
heels in.
Exactly. That's what I mean.
And not change their mind out of spite.
Exactly. And also, again, you said he's a kid, he grew up Jewish, he has comes from a certain perspective. I don't know how he was raised or anything. Like, maybe he needed to learn something. I don't know.
Exactly.
I don't know. And then
I think
on
that
social
also,
media is not the place to learn.
Yeah. I also think that since October 7th, 2023, a lot more information has come to light to the general public.
Right.
That I think has made a lot of people change their minds.
Exactly.
And realize that, oh, there is actually genocide happening.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe he's learned that information too.
Right.
I don't know.
But we won't know because we scared him off of social media.
But, like, I'll read a sampling of comments that he has received. I want to see Noah Schnapp's skull turned into mulch in 4K.
Okay.
Defending this F slur in 2025 is certainly a choice. And things like Noah Schnapp live execution. Which, like, that doesn't make you a better person than him.
Right.
Instead of going after teenagers online, why don't you donate to a pro-Palestinian cause?
Right.
Or volunteer? Or do something that actually betters the world?
Exactly. And now, if we want to, like, complain about Will, here's what we should complain about. His haircut. Because that is a problem. What is Joyce doing letting him walk around with this bowl cut in high school, okay? Like, does he still have the bowl cut in high school?
Yeah, in season 4 they're in high school.
No, Joyce, what are you doing? You are his mother.
I think the worst season 4 haircut, though, is definitely Jonathan.
Oh, his is terrible, but
It's
they're
awful.
brothers.
But they're brothers. They're the bad haircut
their
brothers.
Mother should see this. and I had to. The reason I even care, I'm just being silly and purposefully being petty. But the haircut was cute when he was in the first season, but it's bad now. But
I think in the 80s,
that
more
was
people
like a
had
hair.
that
Yeah,
haircut.
yeah. It's like they tried to do the Beatles, but it didn't quite work out. And but the reason why it sticks in my mind so much is because there is this meme by the meme account called Shithead Steve on Instagram, and that scene where they're driving away in the van when Mike and Will are reunited and Will's like crying because he realizes that Mike loves Eleven, and he like turns away. He's like crying into the window. Yeah. And the meme is what Mike saw, and it's just a thumb with a bowl cut. And I think he would be taken a little bit more seriously if he had a haircut. A good haircut.
Well, have you seen the trailer for next season?
Is it? No.
It's a different haircut.
Oh, good. I haven't. Oh, or maybe I did, but I wasn't thinking about his hair.
Well, the creators are very it's like a very Will-centric season.
Well, thank God.
So I think they needed people to take him seriously, so they gave him a haircut.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, I literally wrote anyway at the next point in my outline, and it's perfect.
Yeah.
Okay. Again, this is all just like fun for me. I'm not saying this is what's actually going to happen, and if you don't agree, that's fine. It's fine. If Mike is supposed to end up with 11, then why was Will's love for him even introduced? Like, what was the narrative purpose? To, like, hurt him more?
Right.
To use this gay character's pain as a catalyst to get the straight couple together?
Rude.
I don't know, it just doesn't seem right. It doesn't sit right with me. Like, just like I said before, just like 11 deserves her autonomy and her independence and her freedom, Will deserves more than to be used as an accessory to end up alone while all of his friends get their happy endings. So, and also, it would hit extra hard because in the scene in the very first episode of season 3, when like Jonathan and Nancy are being lovebirds, and Will says it's gross, and Joyce is like, "You'll feel differently when you're in love," and Will goes, "I'll never fall in love." Aww. I would hope that the narrative purpose for that particular scene was for him to be proved wrong later,
right?
And not tragically proved right. And like, let's look at it. If Will's character was a girl, we would all have been rooting, for she and Mike to get together.
That's true.
After the painting scene, after all the scenes in season 2 where they're like, we'll go crazy together. Mm-hmm. Come on. Okay.
Come on, people.
Now to the more complicated character of this love triangle is Mike. We loved Mike in season 1 and season 2.
Yeah.
He was our little protector. He was like a little tiny baby, fearless leader.
Yeah.
And then in season 3 and 4, the fans turn on him.
Because he became
He was annoying. Oh, sorry, I touched you. A
Right.
little D.
Instead of a little B, like a bitch, she's a little D, a little dick.
Yeah, that's cute. He was annoying. He wasn't worthy of Elle. He was a bad friend at the party.
He was just a teenage
He was being
boy
a teenager.
or preteen boy or whatever.
And people have wondered, like, why the Duffer Brothers wrote him that way and ruined his character.
Because that's how humans are. Mm-hmm.
But I would like to propose a slightly different way of looking at his character. What if he's just desperately trying to act normal because he's experiencing his own internalized homophobia or biphobia or whatever?
Maybe.
Like he wasn't being his genuine self because he was desperately acting the way he thought he should. And like abandoning his authenticity that we saw in the beginning seasons that made him the loving, protective, determined Mike that we knew. And the actor who plays him, Finn Wolfhard, has said in multiple interviews for season 4, he says that Mike is just trying to be as normal as possible. Mm-hmm. And I would argue that if you look at his character arc through this lens, he's extremely well written.
Yeah, totally.
Plus, like I said before about him and Hopper being like the paladins, and they have that journey. I mean, dealing with his like gay or bi demons could be a great paladin's journey. I also think it would be like really meaningful to the community, the LGBT community probably, if like a character who has arguably been the leader of one of the most successful shows on modern TV ended up being like queer.
Yeah.
Be very cool representation. Again, it's just speculation. I have no idea what's going to happen. If Maleven, Elle, and Mike end up being together in the end, I think the Duffers are talented enough writers that they can pull it off.
Yeah.
Like, but what a twist if they don't.
Yeah.
And we know they love a twist. So, like, I don't know. Let's see. A fun little tiny detail in canon is that, oh yeah, I'm like reading this and then remembering what I wrote. Every photo we see of Mike, he never smiles, except
like a photo from the show. Or?
Yeah, like they show different photos.
Okay.
Like there's a photo of them like in the Hellfire Club, like when his mom takes pictures of him for the dance and Halloween.
Oh, okay, I see.
The only photos he ever is smiling is he's standing next to Will.
Oh,
is that a coincidence? Oh yeah, and also in season 2, you know that episode where they're in the shed, like after Bob dies and they leave the hospital,
Bob.
And they put Will in the shed and they're trying to like separate him from the Mind Flayer, and they talk about like, remember your birthday?
Yeah.
Like, let's play Should I Stay or Should I Go? And like, why is Mike his only friend in there? Why aren't Dustin and Lucas in there? Why is Mike like a specialer friend than they are?
Because he's his special friend.
Aren't exactly like it's just showing that they're even more special friends than everyone else right out the get-go. Okay, anyway, I'm gonna go over a couple of specific scenes, and I didn't write down, and I'm gonna test my knowledge to see if I can remember everything I want to talk about these scenes. If you want to fuck up your YouTube algorithm in a really great way, I recommend watching this video by Ronald Off the Record. And he is this lawyer who loves Stranger Things, and he makes all these videos analyzing like the stuff. But the first one he made was his lawyer's evidence that Will and Mike will get together, and he literally goes through like Exhibit A, Exhibit B. It's great. It's almost like 3 hours long. So, in season 3, episode 3, I want to talk about post Elle and Mike breakup when Mike and Will fight in the rain.
Okay.
So, Max is talking to Elle earlier, and, you know, says if, like, she finds out Mike's, you know, lying and stuff, she should dump his ass. Yeah. And he'll come crawling back. So, Elle dumps his ass.
Yep.
And then later, Mike and Lucas and Will are hanging out in the Wheelers' basement, and like Will's trying to get them to play D&D, and they don't want to, and they're just like, it's just like bad communication.
Yeah.
And it's an unfortunate scene for all of them. And Will's like, I'm leaving, and then it starts to rain dramatically, and Mike and Will fight before Will leaves. Lucas does not come up to fight with them.
Yeah.
Because their special friendship.
Yeah.
And Mike is like, it's not my fault you don't like girls, which, like, Will wasn't talking about that.
Right.
So I think that's projection from Mike.
Mm-hmm.
But Will bikes away home in the rain, and we see that Mike does not come crawling back to 11, but he bikes across town in the rain and comes crawling back to Will to apologize.
Huh.
Yeah. So he treats them very differently. Whereas with 11, he's just like eating Cheetos.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this is one that, like, I think is a really, really a new scene. In season 3 at the very end, when the Byers and 11 are moving away, it starts off with Lucas and Max making fun of Dustin for singing the song Turn Around, because Lucas and Max are incredible. There's a reason why I didn't write 10 pages about them.
Yeah,
because we love them in their endgame.
Yeah.
And so Will walks by with like a donations box, and it has his D&D stuff in it, and Mike is like, "You're gonna donate this, blah, blah, blah." And Will's like, I'll use yours when I come back. And Mike's like, what if you find another party there? And Will's like, it's not possible. And then Mike smiles at him. Aww. And it's this nice little interaction, like, oh, cute, you're friends. Yeah. And then there's a romantic scene between Nancy and Jonathan. And then we cut to Elle in Will's old room trying to get his teddy bear out of the closet. And she can't. So Mike reaches up and grabs the teddy bear. Aww. And then Elle is holding the teddy bear. And she is like, I heard... Like, she's talking about how she heard his confession when he was like, I love her and I don't want her to hurt herself. Yeah. That we talked about earlier. And she's like, I want you to know I love you too. And then she kisses him. He keeps his eyes open. Yeah. He does not look like he's feeling the kiss. By the way, Will's teddy bear held in between them as symbolism. And when she walks away from him, she's smiling. And he has this look on his face like... Yeah. It's like not a like, oh, I'm so happy face.
It's just like a confused face.
Yeah. And then when they all drive away, Mike does like one last long look at the house. Yeah. Which is like 11 never lived in the house.
Yeah, right.
And then we have a parallel of he comes to his house and he hugs his mom and cries. Well, he's not really crying, but he's like sad. Yeah. Which is a parallel to season 1 when they found Will's body in the water. He comes back and he hugs his mom and he cries. Yep. And at the end of the episode, they play the same song, which is a cover of David Bowie's Heroes, which is like about star-crossed lovers on either side of the Berlin Wall. Anyway, a lot of symbolism that doesn't really point to 11 and Mike getting together.
That's true.
Hopefully this is, like, making sense.
It makes sense.
Okay.
I just don't remember. I mean,
I know.
remember it when you talk about it, but I don't remember the details.
Only a couple more of these scenes. Okay. And then we're almost done. Okay. In the airport scene in the beginning of season 4, when they're all waiting for Mike to come, well, he's going to visit us. Yeah. And he shows up wearing this, like, ugly-ass outfit that... is like not him at all, and he's like definitely pretending to be someone else. And like he hugs Elle, he gives her the flowers that don't say love, they say from, and he doesn't hug Will, which is like, why? Yeah. That's you projecting. Yeah. And then Argyle asks him if his shirt is like some brand. And he hugs him and he checks the name and he's like, oh no, it's just a cheap knockoff, which is kind of symbolizing like Mike is just not being an authentic. Yeah, he's being a cheap knockoff of himself. Is
Argyle the pizza delivery kid? Okay.
Mm-hmm. And like when they're leaving, Elle's talking about how excited she is for all the things they're going to do and like we're going to get breakfast burritos and stuff. And he's just like, burrito, like breakfast. And he's like not being like supportive of what she wants to do.
Yeah,
and just...
it's weird.
Yeah, it's
Burritos. You come from Iowa, you don't know what a burrito is.
But it's just like he's just being totally inauthentic and not being a good boyfriend to Elle and being weirdly weird to Will for no reason. And then all the things happen. Everyone gets separated. They come back together and they're reunited with Elle in the desert. She's got her powers back. She flipped a helicopter to the ground. It was awesome.
Yeah.
Mike and Elle hug. No kiss. Mm-hmm. They do put their foreheads together.
Yeah.
And they like look at each other like, are you okay? Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And then they put their foreheads together. Their foreheads come apart. Literally in between them is Will in the shot.
Yeah.
And it's like, what's the point of that?
Yeah.
You're like, it's very deliberate. And then she goes, hugs Will. It's like literally the same greeting that she gave to Mike.
Yeah, yeah.
There's like no difference. Mm. It's not more romantic with Mike. Like if they were romantic, they would have like kissed and been in love. And
yeah. I mean, they can have a very deep relationship that's not romantic.
That's what I think it's leading to.
Right.
And then the last little scene is when she's in the pizza freezer bath trying to piggyback and save Max.
Yep.
And Vecna's got her like tied up and she's losing steam. And then Will pushes Mike to confess his love to her.
To get her, like, give her that.
And in the shots where Mike is talking about his love for her, Will is like in the shot with him.
I mean, and he can love her without it being romantic.
But, like, it's, like, and he says, like, I knew that from the moment I met you that I loved you, like, when we saw you in the forest. But that's not even true. If you rewatch season 1, they meet her in the forest, and then Mike's like, I'm gonna go tell, like, you're gonna knock on the door, and my mom's gonna, like, come get you, and then he tells Lucas and Dustin, like, and then she'll go back to the Penthurst Asylum, or wherever she's from. Like, he didn't love her. He wanted to send her back.
Yeah.
He also says, which is like upsetting. He says, I feel like my life started the day I found you in the woods. And it's like, but that's the day that your best friend went missing.
Yeah, exactly.
That's so sad.
Yeah.
Anyway, those are some scenes that I think set up hopefully 11 having her own independent ending.
Yes, and a big gay
ending. Big gay ending. Why can't we have that? Why can't we have that? Okay, I'm almost done here.
All right.
I'm not going to go into like a million examples, but there have been a lot of cast interviews and official social media posts and like promotional materials that hint at this twist ending. So I'll give like a couple of examples. So in an interview with Caleb McLaughlin, who plays Lucas, and Sadie Sink, who plays Max, which their ship name is Lumax, they are comparing their characters to Mike and Elle and saying that the love that Lucas and Max have is quote-unquote real, and that they're both independent people, unlike Mike and Elle, who are obsessed with each other. And this, like, kind of just talking about how Mike and Elle's relationship is superficial and not real, true, deep love. Which, like, no notes for me. Lucas and Max are an excellent couple, and I love them. I could do a whole nother episode analyzing their experiences, because Max's season 4 arc is one of the most poignant depictions of experiencing and then pulling yourself out of a depression that I've seen on TV. Mm-hmm. And, like, I don't know, Lucas is just so compelling and complex, and I love him.
Yes.
Anyway, there have also been a lot of promotional materials, like posters and cast photo shoots and all that kind of stuff, that pair romantic couples together. Mm-hmm. Like Joyce and Hopper, Nancy and Jonathan, Lucas and Max. But a lot of times they'll show 11 by herself, and then they pair up Mike and Will together as the only, like, non-romantic couple in them. Yep. So this, like, hints that Will and Mike's relationship is definitely important, whether it's romantic or not, whereas Elle's individual journey is important.
Right.
But speaking of romantic, Noah Schnapp, the actor who plays Will, did an interview, and he said something like, you didn't know if their relationship was romantic or just a very special friendship, and then he, like, stopped talking, and he was like, can I say that? And, like, the actress who plays Karen Wheeler, Cara Buono, had to, like, jump in and do damage control and save the interview. But, like, okay. The reason I'm bringing up these sort of interviews and things is because they're just a few of the many examples why it seems like to a lot of the audience that if Mike and Eleven end up together, it would be an example of what is called queer baiting. Mm-hmm. And if you don't know what that is, it's essentially like dropping hints that there may be a queer relationship in the show to attract a larger, more like progressive and LGBTQ audience, but you never actually follow through on the relationship, which is so that more conservative viewers are also placated. So basically it's like you're trying to get the widest audience to watch your shit.
Yeah.
By leading on the more vulnerable population while actually catering to the more bigoted audience in the end. It's become less accepted over the years because I think more people have started talking about it. Right. Like for example, like an example of a show just nipping that in the bud I saw recently was Netflix's Wednesday officially confirmed like there's no relationship between Wednesday and that like her werewolf roommate, so that they're not accused of queer baiting. Why hasn't Stranger Things done that?
I don't know. Yeah.
Again, all evidence points to the fact that the Duffer Brothers are not relying on coincidence. Yeah. They meticulously plan everything. So, like, these hints, I don't know, they must have some sort of purpose. Even if everything I've said in the last hour and a half is wrong. Anyway, in the end, this show is for the freaks and the nerds and the weirdos. All of our main characters are outcasts. Yep. Lucas is one of the few black kids in this predominantly white Midwest small town. Yep. Max falls into and pulls herself out of, again, one of the best depictions of depression I've seen on TV. Hopper just trying to keep it together after losing his daughter to cancer, which he thinks he caused by because of his exposure to Agent Orange during his military service. Yeah. Like, Joyce is a poor single mom who's very strongly suggested to be a domestic abuse survivor. Like, plus, nobody ever believes her, and she's always right.
Yeah, exactly.
Dustin, growing up with a disability, without a father figure, like, every single person, like, Nancy is trying to pave her own way as a woman in society that's designed to, like, belittle her for her gender.
And let me plug her choice of career in journalism.
Yeah, because you can identify with that.
Holding power to account. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you go, Nancy.
Like,
that's why I want you to be on your own and find yourself and not have a boyfriend. But anyway.
Even Steve, like I said before, he starts out as a cool guy, but very much experiences his own, like, outcast moments throughout his character arc.
And learns from them, I think.
So I think to choose a twist ending that celebrates and lifts up the outcast would be, like, a full circle way to end the show, especially in our current political climate, where fascist governments are kind of rolling back the rights of the oppressed. Mm-hmm. But again, these are just my thoughts. I had fun writing about instead of writing about fascist governments for a change. Yep. I have no idea what's going to happen. We're all going to find out together in November. And I want to end with 2 quotes for us to think about. One is by Sean Levy, who is an executive producer on the show. And it says, "Our show is an anthem for the marginalized and imperfect. Precisely because the Duffer Brothers know from experience that character, grit, connection, and soul are bred in the same moments that challenge us most."
For sure.
And finally, I'm going to end with a line from David Harbour's speech from the 2017 SAG Awards. "As we act in the continuing narrative of Stranger Things, we will repel bullies, we will shelter freaks and outcasts, those who have no home. We will get past the lies. We will hunt monsters. And when we are at a loss amid the hypocrisy and the casual violence of certain individuals and institutions, we will, as per Chief Jim Hopper, punch some people in the face when they seek to destroy the weak, the disenfranchised, and we will do it all with soul, heart, and with joy. And we thank you for this responsibility."
Well, in 2017, that was the beginning of the first term.
Yep.
Interesting.
So on that note, what are you making time for this week?
Well, I'm going to have to make time to start rewatching Stranger Things because that's the amount of time that's passed since the last season is number one, a reason, like, you have to rewatch at least the last season, but I want to rewatch everything. Before the new one comes out, so I gotta get started.
I found blowing through 1 and 2 is so easy, and
Yeah.
then season 3 is always the hardest one to get through because I don't know. To me, it's the weakest.
Season 3 was with Eddie, right?
That's season 4. That's the most recent one.
Oh, okay.
Season 3 is like when they're in the mall.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's with Robin.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. Okay.
And the Russians get introduced. For me, honestly, I made time to write this outline because it was fun.
Yeah.
Giving my like current hyperfixation somewhere to land.
Yeah.
And making other people have to listen to it.
Yeah. We hope that you aren't felt made, but instead interested. But all right. Well.
All right. We'll see you next time.